Elusive.
Yo, shout out DJ Cream.
Stay a while and listen.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the stream. As I always say, whether you're catching the replay or you're catching the live, oop, too low. You know the vibe. Hit subscribe, give a like, and let's get it going. I'm gonna find a good. Well, let me hear what that sounds like real quick. I think that sounds okay, but you know, just testing music levels as always. All right. So welcome everybody to the show. I am your host, the Dusty One himself. This is the X-Men 97 discussion and spoiler discussion, if you will. And it is also the ending explained, if you will, or at least explained from my point of view, and then, you know, going into season 2, what do we think is going to happen next? So first things first, I want to say, above all, this has been a great piece of Marvel. And this has been the best piece of Marvel content in a very, very, very long time. And that's not to put down other properties, but this just stands above the rest right now. And there's potential for Deadpool and Wolverine, you know, to take that mantle, if you will. But X-Men 97, if you haven't seen it yet, and I know some of my friends haven't, some of my fellow gamers in the community. By the way, don't forget to share this stream out if you're watching live. If you're catching the replay, share it out as well. Hit subscribe, throw some likes. Share your opinions in the comments of what you thought of X-Men 97 Season 1, aka X-Men the Animated Series Season 5. Just having a Modelo, if you will. Enjoying this fine Thursday evening. So let's talk about it. Season 1, X-Men 97, picks up where, you know, the last season of the original X-Men animated series left off. And you know, we don't know where Xavier is. Is he alive? Is he dead? But I mean, you kind of, if you watch the original series, you kind of had to know he was alive, but just like how or where. But the series starts off strong in my opinion, and I felt like it needed to, you know, because it's coming back from all these years. And not only do you need to cater to those that grew up with the original animation, but you need to cater to those seeing something like this for the very first time. And one of my favorite memories, because now that season 1 is over, from early on in the season, I believe it was episode 1. I do want to rewatch this season to get just a second rewatch on it. And I don't say that much about a lot of properties like TV, film, animation, and whatnot, where I feel like I need to watch it again. Because sometimes I watch it once and I'm good, or I'll watch it, a second time just to figure it out, But when it's like a series like this, I watch it and then I'm done and I move on, typically. But there's very few series where that is not the case. And this is one of them. And the moment that I remember or always think about is the moment with Cyclops where I think the jet, the X-Wing, the X-Wing, the X-Men's jet and whatnot, like explodes or something. I think that's what it was. But he's falling and he uses his beam to pretty much slow himself down. And they're like in the middle of the desert and whatnot until like he reaches the ground. But the way that he lands, man, that was just such a clean shot. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And the whole story arc, like what I really appreciated about, and I mean, it's not like it's new to X-Men 97 because this is something that typically goes on within, even the original series, but I really appreciated the mini arcs within the overall story arc of this season. And, one of them being, Storm's story arc. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And, with Storm, losing her powers and then going through this, process of not knowing, like where she fits in anymore and having to refine herself and feel like she needs to live a new life. And, Forge ends up finding her and she goes through this whole like nightmare situation. I forget the name of the bird off the top of my head. I'm just speaking like freely off the dome tonight. I don't have notes in front of me, so I apologize. But this is just from like a watcher's, a fan's perspective, right? But she goes through that whole like situation, but she ends up rediscovering herself and getting her powers back. And I just thought that was absolutely very, what is the phrase sentence I'm looking for? I thought it was very well done. Storm's little story arc within the overall storyline of the season. And the whole situation with Cable and his mom and trying to save her over and over again. And we find out in the final episode, if you haven't seen it, I apologize, spoilers galore, because I'm just speaking freely this evening. But when, Cable going through the pain and, of trying to save his mom over and over again. We find out early in the season that who we thought was Jean Grey is not Jean Grey. It ended up being Madeline Pryor. And she was swapped out. We still don't know when the swap happened, but it was by, Mr. Sinister. And we find out that it's been Madeline Pryor this whole time, and she's actually the mother to Scott Summers' baby, Cyclops' little, boo-boo. And so when we see what happens at Genosha, and Cable is trying to, save his mother, and he can't because every time he approaches that moment, he gets sucked back by time. It's crazy, But then we find out in the final episode, like, he's been trying to save his mom and everybody else 200 times. Like, imagine being able to time travel, right? You have the technology, and there's this one moment in time that you just are fighting everything to correct, not just to save the one person that you love, but to save everyone. Not just mutants, but humans as well, because you see what happens to all of us in the future, right? But the fact that Cable goes through this situation 200 times, that has to weigh so heavy on you and your soul and your whole being, you know. The battle on Genosha was just or massacre on Genosha, if you will, was just absolutely crazy to witness. Which, you know, a character that died in that situation, that's a part of a discussion for, you know, season 2 and what is going to be happening going forward into season 2 of X-Men 97, aka I think season 6 of the X-Men animated series overall. So it's interesting, you know. Marvel has had to really turn things around, right? You would say, you know? They've had a lot of really good properties, but then they've had a lot of properties that really didn't need to be there, that were shoehorned in or forced in and whatnot. And it's just you know, if you've paid attention to the news, you know why. If you don't know why, let's just say previous Disney CEO forced Marvel's hand into trying to make too much content. The original CEO that had stepped down and gave way for this CEO that caused all of this bullshit, if you will, came back and retook his place in Disney, and Kevin Feige and everyone at Marvel finally can get back to the good old drawing board and do what was intended originally for all the stories going forward after the Infinity Saga, which I absolutely loved. Speaking of which, I said on last night's gaming episode of G-Wave TV, it ended up being a gaming episode, that's why we're here this evening, but I had said that this show not only is the best piece of Marvel content in years, but it might, because of where we're going and where we've been during season 1, where we're potentially headed to for season 2, which we'll get into that in a bit, could be possibly even be better than, you know, Avengers Endgame and Infinity War and whatnot, just because those were great 2-part movies and great culminations to an amazing story arc. But this is just so well done. It's not even just the animation. It's you know, it's not even just the storyline and dialogue, but just where that dialogue is taking us and where it takes you, right? This is top 3 Marvel for me. And it's just crazy. But I'm thoroughly enjoying it. You know, people might reach out in the comments later, you know, after this video's posted and say, like, what? You know, like they might disagree with me. They might agree with me. Who knows? But for me, this is because of the fact that even though this is in its own separate universe, that it's connected now and still, and the potential of where this could go, all of the speculation, you know, that can be had from season 1, and then seeing what content is going to be coming out from Marvel, you know, with other properties such as Deadpool and Wolverine, There's one speculation out there. I wouldn't call it a rumor, because a rumor is like it could potentially happen. There might have been some rumblings. This is just a speculation. I really forget who said this. It was the other day. They said it would be wild if somehow the Wolverine in this universe is Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. And that even though, we've had season 1 of X-Men 97, then, if I'll discuss the ending in a bit, but if you've seen the ending, then okay, well, we're not quite there yet when you consider the timing of when Deadpool and Wolverine comes out, because that's in July. And season 2 for X-Men 97 probably doesn't come out till a year from now. If they're going to do it shorter than that, it'll probably be 9 months. Unless they just drop a season 2 because they already have it. I heard it's already been done. I don't even know. But, man, I would love that. Just drop season 2 right now. If you have it, just drop it. Who cares? But you could still tell that story, because the revelation through X-Men 97, when it gets to a certain season, even after Deadpool and Wolverine has already come out, is that is Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. But I could be completely way off. And this is not even my speculation. This is coming from someone else. And I really remember who the source was. But when I heard it, I kind of liked the idea of it. So that's why, I'm talking about it. I think Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is completely separate. But this, whatever, with the multiverse and everything going on like that, this can go anywhere. We don't even know. If I had a sponsor, I'd probably insert it right here, but I don't. So let me just say, hey, what's going on, RSJ fan? Welcome in. Let me just say thank you for being here, whether you're catching the replay or you're catching the live. You know what it is. Hope everyone's having a good night. Let's keep the discussion going. RSJ fan, if you have not finished X-Men 97, I hope you're prepared for spoilers. I am not holding back. I'm just freely talking this evening. I've really fallen in love with all of the characters as well. From Morph to, I've always loved Wolverine. He's always been my favorite. Cyclops has also always been a favorite of mine. Spoil away, I'll watch it anyway. Hell yeah, because you probably won't remember what I said by the time you watch it, and then when you see something happen, you'll be like, oh yeah, Dusty said this. Like, sometimes I try not to spoil myself, but then, like, I'll take a little bit of spoil news, a little bit, because I know by the time I see the movie, I won't remember that specific thing, but it's very rare for me to do that, because I hate being spoiled about anything. Hell yeah, Rogue and Gambit are your faves. Gotta love them. But yeah, this has been the best piece of Marvel in years, and I'm excited for season 2. Let's get into that part of the discussion a little bit, but before we do, let's talk about the ending. Now, RSJ fan, if you love Rogue and Gambit, I'm going to need you to mute this section of the discussion, because I don't think you want to hear this. Yeah. I'm just going to say that much. I don't think you want to hear this part, because this spoiler and what I have to explain about it going into season 2 is not something I think you want to hear, especially if you love Rogue and Gambit. So before I say that part, I will say this. In the finale episode, the X-Men were taking on Bastion. Bastion is fine, was leveling up like Frieza in this bitch, going, advancing himself through the episode. I'll break down how he did in a second. But it just seemed like, all might be lost for our good old mutants. And Bastion was getting the upper hand on everyone, and he evolved a little bit from the last time we saw him. Had all these like wires coming out, and his hair was floating like he was Super Saiyan and whatnot. He fights Cable, rips off this dude's arm, bro, and like splits it apart. You see all these like tendrils pop out, which was crazy, and then fuses the arm into himself, Bastion I'm speaking about, and like upgrades himself again, like becomes like Gold Frieza in this bitch, right? And then just when you think Bastion is like, gonna do some crazy shit, Rogue has this like Superman moment. This isn't the spoiler I was referring to, RSJ. But Rogue has this like Superman moment where she just flies through. Okay, no, this is the spoiler moment. You might want to mute it, RSJ. We doing this live, baby. And she says the line that Gambit had said at the Battle of Genosha, and she said his name was Gambit, remember it. And just blocks this dude in the side of the face. And the way that they're animating this show, a lot of like the in-between moments and the little touches to how they pay attention to detail of like slowing things down a little bit, and or adding a little different type of animation to certain moments to give you a certain effect, like a handshake or something going on. But the way she just comes through and just punches Bastion clean in the face was amazing. Like, I remember popping out of my chair watching it. It was so good. So, obviously, I'm referring to the Battle of Genosha. And, Gambit had, said to the, like, Godzilla-looking Sentinel that his name was Gambit. Remember it. Before he put his hand on the thing that was sticking in his side from the machine, from the Sentinel, and then he like lit up the entire thing with his power, and then blew everything to high heaven, including himself. When we see Xavier have his dream when he was gone on the other planet. Excuse me if I'm like forgetting some names right now. Like I said, I'm just speaking off the dome. But when he was away on the other planet with his boo, when he was getting down, doing his thing, right? But he was teaching all of them like his ways and trying to show them a new way of how to, or a better way of how to do things within their society, or offer a better way. He ended up witnessing, Gambit, all huge like a Sentinel, but then this like skeleton structure like appears within him. So I believe going into season 2, we may see Gambit being, resurrected and being recruited as, Death, as one of the 4 horsemen for Apocalypse, which we'll get into that in a second. The end of the episode, obviously the X-Men prevail But while all of this is going on, Xavier is inside of Magneto's mind, right? And you know, this is all due to the fact that, you know, Magneto was going ballistic, and he ripped out the freaking adamantium from, you know, Wolverine, and you know, in the previous episode was you know, freaking wild to see. And I thought it was so cool that they adapted it from the comics. But that was just a crazy moment at the end of the previous episode. So, you know, Xavier pretty much had no choice but you know, hijack Magneto's mind. So all while this is going on, they're inside Magneto's mind, but, you know, Xavier's trying to help Magneto, you know, restore himself, restore his mind and refine himself, and make everything whole again for Magneto. Remind him of who he is and who he was and what his true ideals were when him and Xavier, you know, were first working together back in the, I think it was like the 60s or something like that. So we see this like whole, you know, inside the mind of Magneto dream sequence going on. You know, there's water everywhere. There's a boat outside of the bar where they used to have a drink at, and they had their original discussion about, you know, when they first opened up to each other, which we see in this episode. You know, they first, you know, when Xavier first opened up to Magneto about, you know, being a mutant and knowing that there's got to be other mutants out there, right? So they're at this bar where they had that conversation, and outside of the bar window, and, you know, within the water on a boat is like Rogue and Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver or whatever, and there's one other character, my brain, but it's pretty much like Magneto's, like, you know, family, you know, or the people that he loves. And it's just this whole crazy dream sequence, right? And all the while, Xavier's just trying to help Magneto remember who he is. And throughout the dream sequence, we see Magneto start to remember bit by bit. You know, his hair is short like it was when he was young, and it starts to grow back like it is, you know, while he's at his current age. And then eventually Magneto ends up, you know, remembering fully who he is and who he was, regaining his powers. And lo and behold, he just yells out, "Magneto lives." And I thought that moment was fire. All the power starts getting restored, you know, to the Earth. He gains control of the asteroid that's falling and plummeting to the Earth because the United States decided to launch, you know, nuclear weapons at this thing, like idiots, because that's what our government would do, not thinking twice and just be like, just nuke it. You know, Bastion's being defeated, and he ends up being absorbed into the reactor core of Asteroid M. Crazy, just absolutely crazy. But once Magneto regains, you know, control of Asteroid M, you know, all of a sudden, well, because of Bastion colliding with the reactor core or whatever it was of the asteroid, the whole thing just like explodes, right? But the crazy thing is that the explosion isn't even like a regular explosion. There's this color and that just explodes all around, and you know, it's like, what happened? What happened to our X-Men? Where is everybody? Did they die? I don't think so. But 6 months later go by. Before I get to that, give me one moment. Hope everybody's having a great time so far, enjoying the discussion. Once again, if you're catching the replay or catching the live, you know the vibe. Hit subscribe, give a like, turn on the notifications, and we will keep the discussion going in just a moment. Crazy. Welcome back, everybody. little intermission. I should find like some sort of like commercial on YouTube or something that's like a joke commercial and just insert that when I need to take a 30-second break or something. Like just something funny. Hey, but if Ridge Wallet is out there and listening and they want to sponsor your boy, hey, get it cracking. So the asteroid explodes, right? And 6 months go by. We see Forge. He's in front of, you know, this wall of pictures of all of the X-Men. You know, every single member. And most of them are either missing or presumed dead. The crazy part is, and now we're going to start to get into, you know, the very end of the episode as well as the end credit scene of episode 10. Yes, there is an end credit scene if you didn't know. I always check because with Marvel, you got to make sure. But, oh, before I get to that. So as Forge is looking at this wall of, you know, missing or presumed dead X-Men, as well as X-Men that are still around and, you know, or, you know, maybe AWOL or off planet, like Scarlet Witch, I think was presumed off planet. But Bishop pops in finally. We finally see Bishop again. And he meets with Forge. Forge doesn't know who he is, but, you know, Bishop tells him, like, well, eventually you will, you know, da-da-da-da. And they pretty much, Bishop pretty much has figured out that, like, I think it was Bishop, right? That the X-Men have been pretty much scattered, you know, and somebody wanted them there and they don't know why, or he doesn't know why, so they got to figure out how to find the X-Men and get them back. Crazy. The time travel in you know, usage in this season has been absolutely wild. But after the explosion, we see that Magneto, Professor X, Xavier, Cyclops, and I think Rogue and Beast were sent to 3000 BC, so all the way in the past. And they end up saving someone, because I believe they're in Egypt. They end up saving somebody, and, you know, when they ask what his name is, it ends up being En-Sabah-Nur. If you don't know who that is the original first mutant, Apocalypse himself, before he becomes Apocalypse as we know. Crazy. Absolutely wild, right? To make it crazier, just when it couldn't get crazier, Jean and Cyclops are sent into the future. Hey, what's good, King James? Good to see you. Magneto. Hey, didn't. I see what you did there. But Jean and Cyclops end up getting sent into the future. Like around, I think it was like 3960 or something like that. AD, right? They end up meeting this tribe. They meet this mysterious woman. Forgetting her name off the top of my head. Like I said, I'm speaking off the dome tonight. I don't have any notes in front of me. I have another episode that I have planned coming up once a few friends have finished watching X-Men 97. And that'll be more of a season 2 discussion video. And they're, yeah. So they get sent to the future. They meet this tribe. They meet this mysterious woman. She introduces herself. The name is not coming to me right now. But as they meet this tribe and this woman, they end up meeting their son, who they sent into the future. However, and this was discussed by another YouTuber, I believe Emergency Awesome said this, that this would be an alternate timeline because the Cable that we know never met his parents. He's only heard stories, right? But the future that they get sent to, they end up meeting their son, where he looks like he's about maybe a preteen, if not a young teenager, maybe a little younger than that. Wild, right? Crazy. Everything looks like it's been taken over by Apocalypse at this point. You know, like the age of Apocalypse has taken over this futuristic barren land. And just when you think it couldn't get crazier than that. We pop back to present time. And we see a hand pick up a queen's a queen card from like a deck, one of Gambit's cards. And as he's picking it up, he's saying something to the effect of, like all of this destruction and whatnot, like so much pain and so much death. And that is where what I was speaking about before with Gambit probably most likely being resurrected and becoming one of the four horsemen and becoming, Death himself for Apocalypse. I believe that not only was it a reference to all of the death that happened at the Battle of Genosha, but a reference to Gambit himself. And that we will see Gambit return in season 2 as one of the four horsemen, as Death. So let's get into season 2 a little bit. What happens next, right? First question is, where are Wolverine, Storm, and Morph? Because a good amount of the team got sent to the past. 2 members of the team got sent to the future. Where did the other 3 get sent to? There's a possibility that they didn't get sent anywhere. There's a possibility that before that happened, they were taken by someone, being Apocalypse, in my opinion. That somehow, at some point, Apocalypse was able to grab hold of the 3 of them. And then in season 2, not only will we see Gambit as Death, but we will see Wolverine, Storm, and Morph as the other 3 horsemen as well. crazy, man. It's crazy. Absolutely wild. I can't. I need to know. Excuse me. I need to know when season 2 is coming. I'm gonna be, on YouTube trying to see everybody's, other videos, discussing, everything going forward. I love this stuff. Star Wars, Marvel, DC, whatever it is. Like I love this stuff, and I love it when the content coming from these different properties is great like this, and everybody just wants to keep talking about it and keep speculating about what comes next. I think that's fun. But for season 2, what does come next? Besides, Apocalypse is here now because we saw the ending, and the end credit scene. But in the effect of the heroes that have made it to the past, what we also see is this like sphere like dome structure that is very reminiscent of Kang, aka Rama-Tut. So the X-Men that are in the past, they meet En-Sabah-Nur before he becomes Apocalypse. And now I feel like they're about to run into Kang himself, Rama-Tut. Like, this is about to get wild and crazy. What else is going to happen in season 2? How do our heroes even get back to present time? I mean, I'm pretty sure when they meet Rama-Tut, who is Kang the Conqueror, before he takes on that name, he's already come back from the future to this past. So do they acquire technology by befriending or, befriending Rama-Tut or whatever it may have you? And somehow through his technology that he's brought from the future, our X-Men are able to get back to present time. Same thing in the future. During the Age of Apocalypse, what happens then? How do we get Cyclops and Jean back to present time? And does this alternate timeline, Cable come back with them so that they can finally raise their son? Because if Madeline Pryor, if there's no going back on Genosha, there's no way to save Genosha. That's just a singular point in time that you just cannot change. That means Madeline Pryor is always going to be gone. So, but because Jean and Madeline share the same memories, because Madeline is a clone of Jean, and we don't know when they were switched and all of that, pretty much Jean is Cable's mom. It is what it is at this point. At least in their circumstance. What's good, Poison Maniac? Good to see you, fam. Glad to have you here, bro. So what else do we see in season 2? I think the X-Men that are remaining, the ones that are not missing, I think we see a new revamped X-Men team that will, try to find a way to get, all the other members back to take on whatever current threat is, in front of them, which I'm going to assume it might be Apocalypse or one of Apocalypse's 4 horsemen, which, like I said, in my opinion, could be, Gambit, Storm, Wolverine, and Morph. On top of that, what else are we going to see in season 2? You know, we had a lot of cameos in season 1. Like we saw the Avengers, you know, from the 90s cartoons. We saw Spider-Man from the 90s cartoons. You know, we saw Black Panther, you know, King T'Chaka's Black Panther. Like, shit was crazy. Shit was hella crazy. There was so many cameos. Morph was making cameos as so many different characters. Like, man, it was wild. I wonder if season 2, because our heroes, you know, are, you know, the X-Men team, the main team, you know, is scattered right now. I wonder if we'll, you know, not only will we see a revised X-Men team trying to find all of them, but we'll also see maybe more cameos from, you know, maybe Spider-Man and the Avengers and Fantastic Four that will help this team of X-Men, you know, on whatever it is that they need to do. Shit's crazy, bro. Season 1 was absolutely wild. The Battle of Genosha, that was peak Marvel. Episode 9, episode 8, 9, and 10 absolutely slap. Just because of what happens. Not only like action wise, but story wise, you know, the little Easter eggs and whatnot in between everything. It's just, I don't want to sound like a broken record to other people who've said this, but you really can tell that everyone who had worked on this show loved X-Men and everything that comes with X-Men. You can feel it when you're watching this show. This show was made by true fans of the original X-Men animated series, and most likely the comics and everything that goes with that. You can just feel it. Now, I do wonder, because of the process with Xavier and Magneto to help Magneto regain his mind and his consciousness and everything and rebuild, you know, his philosophy with, you know, when him and Xavier first worked together, it's like, I wonder if there's going to be a side effect of that. Because if you guys don't know, and you know, in the comics, and I didn't completely know this. I mean, I kind of knew it, but I didn't completely know it. But when this moment happens in the comics, what ends up happening right after is things go wrong, and Xavier and Magneto's minds fuse into one, but with all the rage and madness from Xavier, including Magneto, and they become this just god tier entity. What is the name? It's oh gosh, let me look it up just because I'm talking about it so briefly. One second. It is... Why can't I find it? Oh, here we go. No. I'm forgetting the name. Sorry, everyone. Like I said, I didn't have any notes in front of me. I just wanted to speak off the mind just because of how much I enjoyed this season. Like I said, there's going to be another episode coming up where I will have a panel and we'll be discussing more. We'll be diving more into our thoughts of season 1, but how they, in regard to what we think will be happening for season 2. So stay tuned for that one. I can't find it right now. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So funny. Okay. The name is oh, why can't I remember? Oh my gosh. Anyways, their minds fuse and they just become this like it's like Shredder on, you know, when he goes ballistic. It's just nuts. And I don't know if that's going to happen in the animated series, but it would be interesting. I really wish I remembered the name right now, but you know, I had work today. Lots happened this week. I'm enjoying a beer right now, so excuse me. I'm sure the name will hit me like once the stream ends and I'm like, damn it. You know, Wolverine still doesn't have his adamantium because Magneto ripped that shit right out of him. But I wonder though, because Wolverine in the comics does eventually get his adamantium back, but that's due to Apocalypse giving that to him, but he rips it out of Sabretooth. And we haven't, I don't know if we've seen Sabretooth in this season. I can't remember. But maybe we haven't seen him because Apocalypse has already had him. Who knows? Like, and Apocalypse maybe somehow knows that this moment was going to happen or whatever. But maybe in season 2, because the speculation is that Wolverine might become one of the 4 horsemen for Apocalypse, maybe that's when Wolverine gets his adamantium back. I'm just kind of hoping we get to see feral Wolverine before that happens. Because if you guys don't know, when Wolverine loses his adamantium, he actually becomes his true mutant self. And it's like feral Wolverine and he's nuts. Like scary nuts. So that would actually be nice to see that, even if it's brief, because it's the animated series. I don't know. To see feral Wolverine and then Apocalypse like somehow, you know, subdues him and puts him under and then is able to put adamantium back into his body. Who knows? Who knows? There's just so much to speculate going forward for season 2, as well as so much to speculate about how this affects, you know, the rest of the MCU. You know, don't forget that everything that's happening in X-Men 97, everything that's happened before in the past in the original series, is now canon to the entire MCU. The overall multiverse. So that's not just a shoehorn, it makes it that much more interesting now, and the possibilities of everything going forward. I hope you guys have enjoyed this discussion this evening. Like I said, we'll be back again talking more about X-Men 97, as well as like future content coming out from Star Wars and DC and whatnot. You know, we got the Acolyte coming. You know, we have there's other Star Wars properties that I need to actually watch so I can discuss on this show. Like I think Tales of the Empire. I started it, but I need to finish it. But I also need to get a panel with me to discuss those things in the future so we can really bounce off each other and whatnot. But yeah, before we head out of here, I think the final things I will say is Season 1 X-Men 97, amazing, a success, worth the watch. Do not question it, and when you watch it, do not skip the intro. Shame on you if you're doing that. Partly because the intro does... I hate to spoil this part, but some people like to just skip shit. Watch the intros for every episode because there are tidbits within the intro each time that change. with each episode, and so it's fun to pay attention to and watch. So go and enjoy X-Men 97. Let me know how you feel in the comments when you see this video. Let's get the discussion going. Hit me up on X, YouTube, Threads at the Dusty Uno. Let me know your thoughts on how you felt about X-Men 97, and let me know your thoughts on what you think will be happening in season 2, as well as how it correlates to the overall MCU. Let me know in the comments what your favorite moment was of season 1, or like a standout moment for you. I have several of them. Like I said, it was the moment with Cyclops, and you know, when he used his beam to slow himself down when he was falling. The Battle of Genosha with Gambit. The moment with Magneto ripping out the adamantium from Wolverine. I mean, come on. Come on. And to be honest with you, the final moment when he regains his consciousness in himself and he says Magneto lives, it was just like, I popped very hard for that. It's a wrestling term, by the way. Thank you, everybody, for joining me during this episode of G-Wave TV. As I said, you can find me on the socials at the Dusty Uno. Let's keep this conversation going. And whether you catch the replay or you catch the vibe, you know the live. Hit subscribe, give a like, turn on them notifications. And I'll see you guys next time. Be on the lookout for the next episode of G-Wave TV. Coming to you 7:30 p.m. PDT, Wednesdays. See you, everybody. Peace.